This is TrueNight Voices, and I'm Elias. I only speak after midnight. Tonight, I'll share a story that was meant to stay buried. But some things don't stay silent forever. Some nights don't pass like the others. They linger. They wait. Not for sleep, but for silence. You might live alone, or in a town so small, it forgets to call your name. But you'll know the moment something shifts. When the tap at the window comes too often, when the mirror catches a shadow that isn't yours, or when the floor begins to glow beneath your feet. Tonight, we step quietly into 3 stories. One from a man haunted by a handprint higher than any human could reach. One from a hallway where reflections learn to look back. And one from a home where a basement no one remembers is still waiting to be found. So if you're still awake, turn the lights down, let the stillness in, and listen closely. Because sometimes, what we forget remembers us. And these are the stories that follow you home. Some towns don't sleep the way others do. They don't breathe evenly. They murmur. They flicker. They blink slow and strange under fog-choked lamplight. That's what Devon Ridge was like to me. After my breakup, I didn't want a new start. I wanted a pause. A space where time could fold in on itself quietly and let me disappear inside it for a while. Devon Ridge offered that. Small town, Western Oregon, pine trees, fog, a 3rd-floor apartment on the edge of town with the number 3C etched into the door like a fading whisper. I moved in with 2 suitcases and a coffee maker, no furniture. I slept on a mattress on the floor for weeks. It didn't feel lonely, at least not at first. It felt quiet. And after what I'd just come out of, quiet was a luxury. Until the tapping started. Night 1, the first knock. I remember the time exactly. 3:17 a.m. I'd fallen asleep with the window cracked open, listening to the wind in the trees. Devon Ridge was good at that, sounding like nature was always a little too close. Then came the sound. Tap, tap, tap. Not loud, not sharp. Almost thoughtful, like someone knocking just enough to test whether I was awake. I blinked in the dark, pulled my hoodie tighter around me and stared at the window. Another tap, then nothing. I blamed the wind. Night 2, the rhythm returns. Same time, same sound. 3:17, tap, tap, tap. This time I was ready, or so I thought. I sat up in bed, turned toward the window, and listened. 3 taps, evenly spaced, like a child counting off a game. I walked to the window, yanked the curtain. Empty. Just mist curling under a flickering street lamp. The window glass felt warm from my hand, but not from the outside, like someone had breathed on it. I checked the time again. 3:17. Too precise. That's what got me. The next 3 nights, memory unsettles. By the 3rd night, I started keeping my phone on the nightstand camera app open. Every night at 3:17, the same 3 taps. I stopped thinking it was the wind. There's something about routine when it's done by someone unseen. Something that starts to eat into your bones. One night, as I waited for the tapping, I remembered something. I was 19, driving home from a college party with a friend, Jesse. We passed a girl on the side of the road waving us down. I slowed. Jesse didn't even look at her. "Don't stop," he said. So I didn't. Next day, we found out she'd been mugged. Someone followed her into the woods. They didn't find the guy. They barely found her. I hadn't thought about that night in years, but now I couldn't stop hearing her knocking on our car window in my head. I had turned away once. I wasn't going to do it again. Night 6. The setup. I put a motion sensor camera on the window ledge outside, one of those cheap ones that connects to your phone. I drew the curtain halfway, sat on the mattress, waiting, phone in hand. 3:15 分. I felt the cold settle under my fingernails. 3:17. Tap, tap, tap. I flung the curtain wide. No one. Nothing. But I checked the camera. No motion detected. Except there was a photo. A still frame. My window from the outside. And on it, a handprint. Smudged. Slightly off-center. 5 fingers stretched long and delicate. Higher than any human could reach from the ground. I rubbed the glass with a cloth. The print didn't come off. It wasn't on the outside. It was within the pane. The call with Ben. I sent the photo to my friend Ben. We'd known each other since high school. He was living up in Seattle now, working with some indie documentary group doing stories on weird history. He called almost immediately. You still have a thing for haunted places, huh? I didn't pick this place for the haunt. Well, you got one. Ben told me something strange. In the 1930s, the spot where my apartment building stood used to be a small hotel called the Eastmore Inn. It caught fire. Some people never made it out. One guest was never accounted for, a man who was said to tap on walls in the middle of the night, room to room. No one knew why. They say he was trying to wake people, warn them, or maybe just lost. Night 7, something more. It was the coldest night yet. I didn't light a candle this time. I didn't even draw the curtain. I sat cross-legged on the floor, facing the window, lights off, phone recording. 3:17 分. Tap, tap, tap. But then, something else. A groan, like weight against old wood. And then, a whistle. Faint, tuneless. Just a few notes rising and falling like someone exhaling through cracked lips. Then a sound behind me. Not loud. A rustle. I turned. No one there. But on my nightstand, the candle I hadn't lit was warm. And the window? The handprint was gone. The morning after, I packed my things the next day. Didn't even wait for the lease to end. When I handed the key to the building manager, a guy in his 60s with half-moon glasses and a cough that wouldn't quit, he asked, "You were in 3C? Yeah. You hear the taps?" I nodded. That's all I did. He didn't look surprised. "You're not the first." I didn't ask who was. Later, the fog still watching. I passed the building again months later. Couldn't help it. Drove the long way back from a meeting just to see it. Curtains were still drawn. Light on. Not bright. A flickering yellow, like candlelight through a jar. The window was clean, but if you looked from the right angle, you could still see the faint outline of a hand. And sometimes, if I wake up in the middle of the night, 3:17分. The wind sounds like tapping, but I don't open the window anymore. There's a certain silence that settles over Lakefield when the snow begins to fall. Not the kind you enjoy with cocoa, but the kind that makes your ears ring because the world has stopped talking back. I had moved there for a temporary teaching assistant job at a small liberal arts college. Low pay, cold rooms, one blinking heater in the wall. But rent was cheap and I needed a place to reset somewhere quiet after what happened in Chicago. I wasn't proud of why I left, but I wasn't ready to talk about it either. The room I rented 6 was upstairs in an old boarding house on Spruce Street. The hallway smelled of old varnish and pine cleaner. Everything creaked. The kitchen was shared. The landlady was nearly 80 and deaf in one ear. Perfect. I brought very little with me. A suitcase, a blanket, my battered moleskine notebook. The room was furnished mostly. A desk, a bed, and a tall, full-length mirror leaned against the hallway wall right outside my door. I never liked mirrors. They hold things longer than they should. The first glimpse. It started the 3rd night. I had stayed up late, grading essays, sipping tea that had long gone cold. It was close to midnight when I stepped out into the hallway to brush my teeth. As I passed the mirror, something caught my eye. A man. In the reflection, standing behind me. Pale shirt, no face, just a silhouette. I spun around. The hall was empty. I stood there, frozen, my breath fogging slightly in the cold. I looked back into the mirror. Nothing. Irrational explanations. The next morning I told myself what we all do. Lighting, shadows, sleep deprivation. It had to be. I went about my day, taught a class on literary structure, laughed with the students, ate soup at the campus diner. But by the time I returned that evening, something in me was on edge. That night, I left the hallway light on, just in case. And sure enough, sometime past 11, I passed the mirror again. He was there, only for a second, like something frozen between blinks. This time, I looked into the mirror longer, searching the corners. My reflection looked normal, but it wasn't me I was looking at. Conversations with Leon. The next day I brought it up casually with Leon, one of the other tenants. A lanky guy in his 30s, smoked clove cigarettes, always wore headphones. "Hey," I said, "that hallway mirror ever freak you out?" He raised an eyebrow. "Oh man, you saw him too?" I paused. "Wait, what?" Leon nodded slowly. Tall guy, button-down shirt, doesn't move, but he's there. You serious? I don't joke about things with reflections, man. He lit a cigarette, blew the smoke toward the window. Landlady says the mirror's original, came with the house, was nailed to the wall in the attic when she moved in. Why put it out here? She thought it was elegant. That made me laugh, but not for long. The night I moved the mirror, I couldn't stand it anymore. That night, I grabbed the mirror and dragged it into my room. I didn't want to see it in the hallway anymore. I leaned it against the wall, face toward the closet. I draped a coat over it. But the moment I turned off the lights and lay in bed, I heard it. Footsteps. Not creaky floorboard groans. Actual paced footsteps across the hallway. Then down, then back, like someone searching. Like someone had lost something. I waited, hard in my throat, staring into the dark. And then, the sound of the mirror shifting. A soft scrape against the wall. I didn't move. Not until the sun rose. Guilt and the past. There was something about that moment lying in the dark, knowing I wasn't alone, that stirred something older in me. Back in Chicago, there was this guy I worked with, Peter. Sweet, awkward, smarter than he let on. One night after drinks, he opened up to me. Said he thought he was being followed. Saw someone in the glass of a train window. Every night, I laughed. Said maybe he needed sleep, maybe less bourbon. A week later, he was gone. No note, no calls, just gone. They found his keys on the bridge over the metro line. That mirror made me remember Peter in a way I had tried hard not to. The jazz and the eyes. The following night, I couldn't sleep, so I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the coat-covered mirror. Somewhere in the house, someone was playing jazza, low saxophone wailing in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The notes crept under the door, soft like a lullaby played backward. I lifted the coat off the mirror, and there he was, not behind me within the glass. Closed this time, eyes like coal left in a snowbank, his head tilted, the barest smile. I stepped forward. He mimicked the motion. No lag, not a reflection, an invitation. The confrontation. I called Leon, told him I wanted to get rid of the mirror. He hesitated. "Don't," he said. "Some things. You break the container. You let them out." I didn't care. That night, I tried to haul the mirror downstairs. It was heavier than it looked, cold to the touch, like holding ice through velvet. Halfway down the steps, I slipped. The mirror tumbled, cracked, shattered. But there was no glass, only a soft, pulsing blackness. Like water you couldn't step into. Like a doorway. I screamed, ran back upstairs, slammed my door, and the music stopped. The aftermath. I moved out that weekend. No ceremony, no goodbye. I left the key on the radiator. I didn't tell the landlady why. She didn't ask. Leon texted me 2 days later. Room's empty, but mirror's back. Whole. I didn't respond. He sent one more text. He smiled at me tonight. Final thoughts. I moved to a sunnier place. No mirrors in the hallways, no late-night footsteps. But sometimes, when I'm brushing my teeth and catch my own eyes in the bathroom glass, I hesitate, just to see if he's still there. And when I do, I swear, something behind me pauses too, just for a second, like it's waiting for me to notice. Some memories don't arrive all at once. Just a smell, a flicker, the weight of silence behind a closed door. You don't remember when they began, only that they've always been there waiting. I hadn't been back to Elderglen, Tennessee, in 7 years. It's a quiet place, a scattering of homes between cotton fields and cicadas. Mama still lived in the old wooden bungalow with the screened porch and tin roof that hummed when it rained. I used to think the house breathed while we slept. When I visited that fall, the town hadn't changed, but the house, something about it felt watchful, still but not resting. Mama greeted me with pinto beans and a smile that stopped just short of her eyes. She'd been forgetting things lately, nothing drastic. Just that slow unraveling, like old fabric losing its weave. "Just for the weekend," I said. She nodded. But the house had other plans. Night one. A faint glow. My old bedroom faced hers across a narrow hallway. As kids, we used to tap on the Walsauer code for "I'm scared" or "good night." That first night, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan spun lazy circles. The air smelled like polish and cinnamon. Then I saw it. A glow beneath Mama's door. Dim. Yellow. Like candlelight. It was 2:43 a.m. I got up and crossed the hall. No sounds. Just the faint hum of the fan down the corridor. I knocked lightly. No answer. I opened the door. Darkness. Mama was asleep. No lamp, no glow, just quiet. The next morning, over coffee, I asked gently, "Did you leave a light on last night?" She didn't meet my eyes. "No, honey. I was asleep." "There was a glow," I said. "Under your door." She stirred her coffee, then said barely above a whisper, "You saw it too." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She leaned in. "It doesn't come from my room." "Then where?" She looked down at the floor. "It comes from below. That house never had a basement. Everyone in Elderglen knew you didn't dig too deep floodwater, clay, sinkholes. Our house had a crawl space, barely deep enough for a stray cat. But Mama was certain. "Saw it twice this week," she said, clutching her cup. "Woke up to the floor glowing, like something was breathing down there." "What kind of something?" She didn't answer, just whispered, "If the light comes again, don't open the door." Night 2. Whispering floorboards. I stayed up that night, sat on the bed, flashlight in hand, blanket over my shoulders. 2:43分. There it was, the glow again, pooling under Mama's door. I crept forward. The floor creaked. I knelt and pressed my ear to the wood. Whispers. Not words, just motion. Cloth dragging, pages turning, breathing. The wood was warm. It vibrated like something alive was beneath us. The dream. I dreamt I was a boy again. Mama at the sink, humming softly. Then jazz music began soft, distant, but not from the radio. It came from under the floor. I peeled up a loose tile. There were stairs, spiraling down, lit by amber glow. I followed. The walls were clay and bone. At the bottom, a door with no handle. I turned. Mama stood behind me. She said, "Some doors only open when you believe they shouldn't." I woke with the taste of dirt in my mouth, searching below. Next afternoon, while Mama napped, I slid into the crawl space. Cobwebs, cold air, nothing unusual. But beneath her room, the dirt looked disturbed. I dug. 6 inches down, my fingers scraped something hardwood. A small hatch, nailed shut. I didn't open it. Not yet. That mistake. I couldn't sleep. 2:43分. This time, light leaked from both our doors. The hallway pulsed with italive, rhythmic. I heard soft footsteps pacing beneath the floor. And then a voice. Low, crooked. "We've been waiting." I ran to Mama's room. She sat upright, eyes wide, blank. Light poured from under her bed knot, leaking, but spilling, like a flood from a crack in the world. The hatch had opened. The descent. I crawled back into the crawl space. The hatch was unsealed now. No nails, no dust. A staircase descended into the glow. I should have stopped, but I didn't. I went down. The light shifted gold to green, then to blue. At the bottom, a room. It looked like our old living room, the one from years ago. Same couch, old TV, my childhood drawings still on the fridge. And in the middle, Mama, or something that looked like her, younger, still smiling. "Why'd you stop coming home?" I turned to run, but when I reached the top, the hatch was gone. Back to morning. I don't remember climbing out, but I woke in my bed, light through the window, birds singing. Mama at the stove. "Morning, baby," she said like nothing had happened. She looked herself again, older, kind. I asked her about the night. She only said, "Some things live where we forget." I didn't press her. Final note. We sold the house a month later. I let a company handle everything. The foundation report came back strange. There was a sealed cavity beneath the bedroom, unmapped, unexplained. The house remains unsold, but sometimes at 2:40, 3 a.m., I still hear jazz music through my walls. And when I do, I see a faint golden line under my door. And I know some doors were never meant to close, just buried. You've just heard a true story, told by Elias after midnight. If you're hearing this, maybe you were meant to. Subscribe, and I'll return when the world is quiet again.